Welcome, everybody. I see a few people trickling in. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll get started in a short while here. Thank you for joining us for our webinar on how to save on travel. We're really happy to have you with us today. As I said, we'll get started in a bit, but while we wait, I'd love to hear where everybody's calling in from. So if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat your name and where you're calling in from, we'd love to hear from you. Judy from Reston, Virginia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Betty from Ohio. Joe from Wisconsin. Deborah from New York, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Maurice from New Jersey. Ross, all the way from Vancouver. Thanks so much for joining us today. And Patty from Ontario. Love to hear from our Canadian travelers. Brianna from Illinois, welcome. Thank you. Harriet in Chicago, thanks for joining us today. Cheryl from Georgia, we're happy to host you today, learning a little bit more on some saving techniques when you travel with Go Ahead. Mindy from New York City, thank you for joining us. Sarah from Arkansas, hi, happy to have you today. Sharon from sunny San Diego, or we hope it's sunny. Catherine from LA. Anne in New York, thank you for joining us. And Clay from Florida, we're happy to have you today. Karen from New Mexico joining us on Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us today. Romney from Texas, thanks for coming. As I said, we'll get started in a few minutes here. We're going to be talking about how to save on travel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to hear where you're calling in from. If you want to put it in the chat box, whether you're on Facebook Live or on our Zoom call here, our Zoom webinar, we'd love to hear where you're calling from. From Miami, Florida, Marilyn, welcome. Thanks for joining us on Facebook. Becky from Delaware, thanks for coming today. Javier from New Jersey, thank you for coming. Mike in Minnesota, mine and Josh's home state, thanks for joining us today. Judith from Alberta, Canada, thank you for coming today. Give it a couple more minutes here. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We're going to be chatting on how to save on travel. For those of you just joining, feel free to pop in the chat box and tell us where you're calling in from. Yolanda from Oklahoma City on Facebook Live, thanks for coming today. Angelina from Indianapolis, thanks for coming. Mary Lou from Situate, our backyard here in Boston, thanks for coming. Beth from Washington, thanks for Washington State, that is. Thanks for starting your day with us here. Shauna in Austin, thanks for coming. Just about one more minute here. We'll wait for some more people to trickle in. Thanks again for joining us as we prepare to talk about how to save on travel. Jan from Illinois, thanks for coming. David from Beaverton, Oregon, thanks for being with us today. And Winter in New York, thanks again for coming. Nancy from Florida on Facebook Live. We're happy to have you today. Thank you to everybody, whether you're joining on our Facebook Live event or our Zoom webinar here. We're really happy that you're joining us. Linda from Chicago, thanks so much. Great. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you again for being with us today, for joining us on our webinar on how to save on travel. Just want to set a few general expectations for this session at the beginning here, and you can learn more about how to submit your questions. So your cameras and microphones will be disabled during this presentation, so don't worry about background noise or your video settings. You'll just be able to see us and the presenters. Thank you again to those of you that submitted questions beforehand. If you have questions that come up live during the session, please use the Q&A box in the bottom of your Zoom window. Click on the Q&A button and type in your question. Or if you're joining us on Facebook Live, you can put it in the chat box there. We're going to do our best to get to as many questions as we possibly can. So keep them coming, keep them coming. There will be a handful of polls throughout the session. Oh, seems like there's no sound maybe. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that, I'm not sure what happened. I'll just back up a little bit here. So again, as the audience, your cameras and microphones will be off during this session. You don't need to worry about background noise or anything like that, or your video settings. Thank you again to those of you that submitted your questions beforehand. We're going to do our best to get to as many of them as we can, but if you've got questions that come up live during the session, please feel free to use the Q&A function, whether if you're in Zoom. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live, you could put your questions right in the chat box. There will be a handful of polls throughout the session that will pop up on your screen. Feel free to interact with them and we'll share our results live. And without further ado, we'll jump right in. Our two hosts today are Josh Hennagir and Debbie Howell. Josh Hennagir has been with Go Ahead Tours for over 5 years. He's been on more than a dozen tours, and he leads our community and engagement team as the customer loyalty and retention manager. Thank you for joining us today, Josh. And our other host is Debbie Howell. Debbie is a seasoned traveler with over 40 tours with Go Ahead and other EF products under her belt, and another 5 booked for the next 2 years. She's been to over 90 countries, 6 of the 7 continents, and is about to check off Antarctica in the next year or 2. Thank you so much for joining us, Debbie. And I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm originally from Ohio, but now I live in coastal North Carolina. I've traveled with Go Ahead since 1994. I wouldn't choose another company. I first traveled with students, and then when I retired, I started traveling with adults. I now, through getting to know people and friends of friends, I have people who travel with me from 15 other states and 2 other countries. And every time we travel, we gather more people, and it's more fun to travel with friends.
Thanks, Debbie. Josh, if you'd like to say a few words.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Josh Hennagir, and like Andy has said, I'm the Customer Loyalty and Retention Manager here at Go Ahead. And not only have I traveled through work with Go Ahead on more than a dozen tours, I've also done personal travel, and I've been traveling since I was very young, and have been over 30 countries. And so today I am extremely excited to be here sharing with you all tips and tricks on how to save on travel, because my absolute favorite thing to talk about in the world is travel, and there's nothing better than being able to experience the world, but doing so on a budget, so you can experience even more throughout your life. So without further ado, I'd love to get started. In saying go ahead, we believe the best way to learn about the world is to experience it, and we want to help as many people do just that. And so whether it is finding the perfect tour and perfect tour date for you, is it bundling savings or sharing your love for travel, we're going to try today to discuss everything we can do to make travel fit your budget, whatever that may be. So these are the 3 topics we'll be discussing today. And if you have any questions, like Andy said, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. And at the end, we'll be able to answer some of those, both Debbie and I. So to start, choosing the perfect tour is really the most important part of having an experience that is going to fit for you. And choosing the perfect tour is going to level set where our budget starts. And so we want to be very mindful when we're doing that. With Go Ahead, we have multiple different ways and styles of traveling. So we offer tours that are for the food and wine enthusiast, safari tours, walking tours. We have grand tours that you get to experience everything a country or region has to offer, such as our 22-day tour to Australia and New Zealand. You get a really great overview of those islands. We also have shorter tours and city-state tours where you can just unpack once in a hotel and nestle into a city to feel like a local and have everything that city has to offer. And we also have added recently to our portfolio short week-long tours. So we've taken some of our longer 2-week tours and have made them fit into a single week-long 9 days, being able to span 2 weekends for you. So if you only have a week that you can travel, these are a great option for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about those today as well. And of course, the shorter tours also will help fit inside someone with a tighter budget. So to give an example of this, we have one of our favorite tours, the Venice, Florence, and Rome tour. So if you're in Italy and you want to try to experience a lot that the country has to offer, the Venice, Florence, and Rome tour is perfect for you. We offer a 12-day tour that spends 4 days in each of these cities. So you get to experience the city at a more leisurely pace. With 12 days, it's a great value at only $26.09. But if you do need that time to, in that week period, 9-day period, we do offer a shorter tour for you. So in the shorter tour, you spend 3 days in each of the cities, which is a little quicker pace, but you still get to experience, the iconic canals of Venice, the Duomo, and incredible gelato in Florence, and of course, the Colosseum and all the history that Rome has to offer. This tour comes in starting at $19.99. So you can see you can save $600 by choosing the shorter tour that will also fit within that week time frame for you. Another option when you're deciding on which tour will be best for your calendar and your budget, here's an option with the Greek Islands tour. One of my favorite tours I've ever done, going to Athens, Mykonos, Santorini, and Crete. You can do this on a 14-day tour if you have the time. Did my sound just come out? One moment. Am I back? Fabulous.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Back in business. So the weekend island, or the Greek Islands tour is $33.99 is the starting price for that without flights. If 14 days is a little too long for you, or that $33.99 is a little higher than you wanted to spend, we offer that similar tour a week in Greece for only $25.99. So you can save $800 by doing a shorter tour. And this, you still get to see Athens and the iconic Acropolis, and for the shopping lovers, Plaka. You get to go to Mykonos and Santorini and see the iconic vistas of those islands have to offer, still all within that 2-weekend confinement. So that's a really great option if you are looking into that.
Thanks, Josh, for that intro. Debbie, I'm interested to hear from you a little bit about when you're ready to choose your next tour, what kind of influences your decision, and how can your tour consultant at Go Ahead help you?
Choosing which tour we're going to do next is based on a lot of things. We always keep a running list of where my friends and family want to go, like what's on your dream list. So I always keep a running list of that. After a tour, we always do a poll to see what do you want to do next. So we choose where we're going to go from that. I also look at the places I've been, and obviously I've been to 90 places, so I want to get to 100. So I choose where I'm going to go next based on that. We also do some tours on what's just relevant in the moment. For instance, right now, Outlander is really, really big. So during the pandemic, I put it out there to my friends, let's do Scotland and Ireland. And within a day and a half, we had to shut the tour down because we had filled the tour. And I think it's just in hopes that everybody can maybe see Jamie when they get to Scotland.
That's so great. Thanks so much for sharing, Debbie. Josh, I'll hand it back to you.
Great, thanks, Andy. So now that we've looked into the tour specific that you want to do, seasonality is extremely important. As we know, when you're choosing to travel in a peak season, you are going to be also paying peak prices. So if you have the flexibility and options, I always say to save more on the tour itself, try to travel in an off season or an off peak season. So in Europe, for example, summer is their most popular season. If you decide to travel in an off season, either the fall, winter, or spring, you'll get to experience Europe in a different way. You'll have smaller crowds, easier access to museums and attractions, much quicker lines, if any lines at all. You also get to experience local festivals and different local traditions that happen in the off season. So for example, the photo we have here is of the Christmas markets in Germany. Christmas markets in Germany and Northern Europe are famous the world over, and obviously you can only travel or only see them in the winter time. So I highly recommend doing that. Along with these things, there's also local specialties when it comes to dining that appear in specific seasons. So for example, in Rome, you can get the most incredible fresh artichokes in the fall. And that is, you know, when I was there this past fall in November, it was absolutely to die for the amount of artichokes I ate. I think I probably ate more artichokes that one trip than I ever had in my entire life. It's something that truly can't be missed. Now, apart from these, apart from the festivals and the off-season crowds, things like that, you also have a price difference when you're talking about traveling in the off-season. So I've taken an example, a week in Ireland tour that we offer, Dublin, Cork, and Galway. If you wanted to take this tour in July, so July 7th through the 14th of 2022, the price is $22.79. That exact same tour, if you were to take it just a few months sooner, February 27th through the 6th, that same tour is offered at $2,009. And I don't know about you, but $270 could definitely buy a few pints of Guinness while you're there. So it's something to think about when you are thinking about the seasonality of when you want to travel. Personally, I'm from Minnesota, and growing up in a state where we have winter 3 or 9 months of the year, I like to stay home in the summer months that we have, you know, the lakes and the beautiful forests that we have here in Minnesota. I like to take advantage of them in the summer. So when I travel, I almost exclusively travel in the fall, winter, and spring. And so here's some of the photos from my travels and why I prefer to travel during those months. The first large photo that you see there on the right, obviously the Trevi Fountain. If any of you have been to the Trevi Fountain, you know it's absolutely gorgeous. And if you're there in July, you'll get a photo of the Trevi Fountain and 600 of your closest friends. This was in November. I went and saw the Trevi Fountain. Mind you, the weather was really, really nice. I didn't need a jacket at all. This was taken on a morning run where I stopped and I thought, this is impossible to see this site without anyone here. So I got to fully bask in the beauty of the Trevi Fountain, almost as if I owned it myself. And it was really quite wonderful. The one next to that on the bottom, Neuschwanstein Castle in southern Germany. In the summer, it is beautiful. It is incredible. You see the trees in full bloom, and that's wonderful. But in the winter, you get to see the actual magic that the castle has, as you can see here. You know, imagine yourself sitting at the bottom of the castle with a warm cup of glühwein, eating a warm pretzel. It completely changes that experience. So if you've been there in the summer, I highly recommend going again in the winter. It's a magical experience. And then, of course, right above that is a photo taken from Mount Pilatus in Switzerland. Debbie and I were actually there last November, where we got an opportunity to go up to the top of the mountain. And our group was almost the only group there. It was so nice to have the full run of the place. And then the views could not be beat because of how crisp and fresh the air was. You could see for miles and miles and miles. It was actually just a breathtaking experience.
Josh, it's so wonderful to hear about those amazing memories you formed. It seems like even in off-season travel, you can still have such an amazing experience. Debbie, I'd love to hear about some of your favorite memories on tour, whether it's off-season or otherwise.
We used to always travel in the summer because obviously I taught, and then I still have a lot of teacher friends. But we also like to do the shorter seasons as well, because there are other things, like Josh said, that really are big to offer during those times. But going in the off season, sometimes you can really have some memories that you can't have during the busy times. One that comes to mind is we went to Italy once in October, and we were going into Venice, and we were coming across the lagoon this time to enter Venice. And there were hardly any other boats on the lagoon. And we're sailing across the lagoon, looking into the distance, waiting for Venice to appear. And the mist was rolling in on the water, and you couldn't see anything. And all of a sudden, the mist raised, and there was Venice looming in the distance. It was just like a scene out of the movie Brigadoon. So that was a really special memory. Another one is Machu Picchu can get really, really, really crowded. So choose an off-season time, and maybe you can do something like, excuse me, you can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go to Machu Picchu when there's no one there, and especially off-season, there isn't anyone there. And you can walk or hike to the Sun Gate and see the sunrise through the Sun Gate. That was another really special memory. Also, when you choose off-season, think of what you want to see in your nighttime sky. Maybe you want to see different constellations at different periods of time. So put your tour at that time. If you want to see the Northern Lights, you definitely want to go in the winter when
Oh, seems like Debbie's internet is maybe a little bit spotty, but I'm glad she got to share some of those magical memories that she had on tour. Thank you so much for sharing that, Debbie. We'll hand it back to Josh here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So now that we have chosen the tour that we're looking for, the season that we want to travel, the next thing to think about is the time frame that you want to travel in. And so I always say the best way to save is by planning ahead. And when you plan ahead, it really helps in multiple ways. The first way is it gives you much more time to plan your budget and to pay for the experience. You also get to dream and anticipate. And my favorite part about traveling is actually the anticipation and thinking about, what are the foods I'm going to eat? What are the sights I'm going to see? Who are the people I will meet, or what experiences will I have? Those are the things that get me really excited. And so planning ahead gives you more time to do those things and to research and get a better idea of where you're going. And at Go Ahead, we make it very easy to plan ahead when it comes to your finances. With our auto pay plan, you only need to put a $99 deposit down, and then we divvy up the total balance of the tour into monthly payments. And each month those payments come out. So the more time you have to spend, the smaller those payments will be. And for an example, I'm going to use the Week in Greece tour, Athens, Mykonos, and Santorini. This is one of my favorite tours. And I was actually there last October, and it was beautiful. The vineyards were just perfect. The weather couldn't have been better. It was warm, sandal weather. It was really great. And so for this tour that I've chosen, it's our October 1st through 9th tour in 2022, where the price for this tour starts at $26.49. If we were to take that, to reserve that today, it's going to be 23 months for us to pay that off. So if you do the math, which I've done here for you, is only $115 a month for this tour. So very, very affordable. And this is even before we talk about discounts and special promotions, which we're going to be getting to now. But before we do, I want to actually take a quick poll. So I'm about to launch a poll on your screen. If it doesn't pop up, there should be a little button that says poll at the bottom. Click that and you'll be able to participate with us as well. So for this poll, I'm going to get it launched for you here. The question is, what is your Club Go level. Now, our Club Go is our loyalty program that will allow you to earn more benefits as time goes. So once we have this poll launched, it will be able to have you choose which level you are. Are you a dreamer, a trailblazer, an explorer, a voyager, a globetrotter, or I'm unsure of my Club Go level?
Looks like the poll we're seeing now, we can do two in one go here. If we want to relaunch that poll, we can learn a little bit more about what season you prefer to travel in. If we can relaunch that first poll here, we'll get 2 for 1.
Thanks, Andy. So yes, here's another poll that we have. In which season do you typically prefer to travel? Winter, spring, summer, or autumn? Gonna allow you a few moments for that to trickle in. All right, let's see. It looks like autumn actually is the #1. So that is fantastic. Love to hear it. Autumn's a great time. I usually, yes, autumn or spring are both incredible times to travel, seeing especially foliage in the Northeast, or if you're going to be traveling to Amsterdam or the Keukenhof Gardens is another great place to see the fresh blooms in the springtime there. So highly recommend both of those. Now, the second poll that I would like to do is up on your screen now. So like I said, Club Go is our loyalty program that we have with Go Ahead. So what is your Club Go level? Go ahead and choose one. Just give you a moment here to get your answers in. All right, any last answers? All right, let's take a look at our responses. It looks like we have some dreamers and trailblazers are the #1 people that we have, and a few of you have also said that you're unsure of your Club Go level. That's okay. We're going to be talking about that today. So if you want to find out your Club Go level, or if you have questions about Club Go, the first place I would say to look is your online account. So check it, or you can visit us at goaheadtours.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a login button. Click that, put in your email address and password, and this is the screen that will appear. Of course, it won't be Andy, but it will be it'll be one of you. Thanks, Andy, for letting me use your account here. So when you're in your account, you're going to see this here. Halfway down, you're going to see where it says Club Go Rewards. I'm just circling at that with my cursor. When you click that, your Club Go program will appear for you. Here you will be able to see what your status is and what benefits you get for your level, as well as all the questions that you have about the program. There's an FAQ section here. This also will be where your travel bank lives. And in your travel bank, you will see all of the credits that you've earned that you can use towards a future tour. And also there's a referral section where if you have friends or family members that you know are looking to travel with Go Ahead, you can earn credit by giving us their name. So let us know if you have any questions about this. You can check your online account or give us a call. Our customer service team and tour consultants are here to help you. But until then, let's talk about the program itself. So Club Go is our industry-leading loyalty program. It's all designed around you as our travelers, and many of the benefits that we have here actually came from the feedback that you've given us. So the program is separated by levels based on the number of tours that you have taken. So if you have yet to take your first tour, you're a part of our club as a dreamer. Once you've come back from your first tour, you upgrade yourself to a trailblazer. You can then upgrade to Explorer, Voyager, or Globetrotter after your 10th tour. Now, if you look down the columns, you'll see each of the individual benefits that you will receive from your levels. What I want to do today is specifically talk about the monetary benefits because we're talking about how to save on travel. So if we look down, halfway down, you see the Welcome Home Credit row. That shows that $100 can come directly off the top of your tour when you reserve your next tour from 90 days from the time that you arrived home. Obviously, we have not been traveling in the past 90 days. So what Go Ahead will do is if you have a tour booked in the future, let's say next summer, and you want to book an additional tour, so in the fall or in 2022, we'll still honor that $100 credit on that new tour, which is combinable with the monthly promotion that we currently have. So you can combine that welcome home credit with the monthly promotion. Then if you look below that, you have the tour credit. This again is another credit that comes right off the top of the cost of your tour, which is combinable with the welcome home credit, which is combinable with the current promotion. So as you can see, these credits can start to add up. Next, you have the experience credit, the row underneath that. Once you become an explorer, so you've had 3 tours or more with us, you start to earn these experience credits. They can go towards different ways to customize your tour, whether it be excursions or extensions. If you want to add insurance, you can use it to pay for that. You can also use it to pay for the private supplement for a private room if you are someone who travels solo. That's an option you can do. If you don't choose to use that credit, that's by all means your choice. It will just remain in your travel bank, and then it will continue to grow each tour you take until you're ready to use that credit. Now, additionally, this is where it gets really exciting is once you have taken your 19th tour, the very next tour you reserve with us will be free up to $4,000 value. So you can earn a free tour for your 20th tour. Then again, once you've reached your 30th tour, we'll offer a $4,000 credit towards a business class upgrade for either you or to share with loved ones. I know this is a bit of information to take in. Like I said, there's more information in your online account, or you can call in. I want to take a dive quickly into our trailblazers, since many of you said that you're trailblazers on this call today. So if you've taken one tour with Go Ahead, the very next tour you take, you have the option to get $200 off the top of the tour. So $100 for that welcome home credit, $100 for that future tour credit, automatically decreases the cost of your tour by $200. You also get members only deals, first access to new tours when those come out, and referral benefits. So when you're telling people about Go Ahead, you can start earning benefits from that. Now, I've done a lot of math here, and I want to put it in a equation that is a little bit more simplified. So this is a way to see how you can bundle these savings. So our current promotion for our week 3 of Black Friday event is up to $400 on selected dates and departures. You add that $100 welcome home credit, you add that future tour credit to save up to $600 off your next trip. So this is a quick way to see that all of these benefits do stack, they add up, and it can really help when you're looking at finding the right tour on a budget that will fit your budget. But wait, there's more. We can now talk about sharing your love for travel. I mentioned a little bit earlier about the referral program, but before I go into that, I want to take one more poll. This poll is a simple true or false question. True or false? You have an option to earn your next tour for free. This is a pretty quick turnaround time. Gonna wait until everyone can get their answers in. All right, let's take a look to see where are we at. Excellent. It looks like the majority of you have been on our website saying true. You are absolutely correct. You can earn your very next tour for free. There's actually 2 different ways that you can earn your next tour for free. I'll talk about one of them now. The first way is through our referral program. So when you're talking to friends, families, colleagues, strangers in the airport, you're talking about travel, and you bring up Go Ahead and say, you know, I had an incredible time on my most recent Go Ahead tour. I think you would really enjoy working with them. As long as you have them tell us your name when they book the tour, or you tell us their name and then we can credit you that way, you will earn benefits. So as you can see in the price tag here, you'll earn different benefits the more people you refer. So if you refer up to 8 people in a 2-year period, you will earn that next tour for free. If you refer brand new people to Go Ahead, the first 2 you will get $100 each, then $200 for your 5th person, new person you refer, you get $500. Then the next 3 you get $300. These are all stackable and combinable to give you, after your 8th referral, $1,500 in credits and a free tour. So it's a really great opportunity for you to earn a free tour, but also credits towards your next tour as well. The cherry on top of all of this is that the person that you are introducing us to or referring, that person also will get a $100 referral credit by being referred for you. So you're helping other people save as well. You will get rewards, they will also get rewards. All of this, like I've been mentioning, is stackable and combinable with everything else we've been talking about.
Wow, Josh, so many ways to save on travel. Thank you. Debbie, I'm curious to hone in a little bit more on your experience with the referral program. Can you tell us a little bit more? You can feel free to unmute yourself and tell the group how you've been able to take advantage of the referral program and earn some free travel. Oh, Debbie, it looks like you're muted. Could you unmute yourself and share some information for us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. It must not have worked the first time. It sounds like it would be really, really difficult, but it's not that hard. Just share your passion of travel and you will have people asking you. So in the last 3 years, I've referred 20 people, and that's just through friends, friends of friends, friends and friends of friends, mostly just on Facebook. And I also have a group called Meetup. So either people want to hear that they hear that they want to go on a trip with you. So while they're traveling, they might think of a tour they want to go to, and they might have friends that want to be referred. But it's not really that. It's just not that difficult. You can just keep putting pictures on Facebook when you travel. Like when I travel and do a tour, I like to put a few pictures every day with some explanations. And people follow that vicariously because they want to travel. And so when you get home, they'll start to ask you, I would like to do that tour. Or when I saw that, I thought of a different place and I would like to do that tour. Can you help me? And you refer those people and you will get a free tour. I've just booked my free tour for the highlights of the Baltics for next year. So just keep sharing and people will want to travel.
Wow, thank you, Debbie. That's from 20 referrals, that's 2 free tours, one to the Baltics and one banked for later to keep those travel dreams alive while we're all cooped up at home. Thanks so much, Debbie.
Great, thanks, Andy. And coming back to what Debbie was saying, when you're talking about travel, and I know I talked about travel to everyone I meet, and you're thinking about who are some of the people that you may want to invite to come to Go Ahead to receive some of those referral benefits. Family and friends are obviously the first circle that I think about, but neighbors and coworkers, book club members, online groups like Debbie had mentioned how she posts on Facebook. These are all great ways if you're looking to take advantage of the referral program. These are great ways to invite people to find out more about Go Ahead. And like I said, it's a win-win. The person that you're referring gets money off their tour. You get you get money off of your tour as well. So it's a great way of sharing this. I want to bring it back to this bundling savings though. So like I said, the referral credits are combinable with everything else we talked about. So if you are talking with a friend at your book club and let's say her name is Susan, and Susan and her husband Gary want to go on a trip, you tell Go Ahead about Susan and Gary, and when they call in and book their trip, you will get the $200 for that referral credit. They will each get $100. What that looks like is the current promotion of up to $400 plus the welcome home credit. In addition, you have the future tour credit and $200 for the referral credit. You can be saving up to $800 on your next trip. So this is a great way to really bundle these savings to get the most out of your travel. And I'm going to put it into context again with that week in Greece tour that I talked about earlier, that October 1st through the 9th. It starts at $26.49. This trip and date is actually $350 on sale for $350 off right now. You also have the tour discount of $100, the welcome home credit of $100, and the referral credits of $200. Now you are seeing that the total price has been brought down to $18.99. And with the auto pay program, the $99 deposit, and then the equal monthly payments, it's actually down to $82 a month is what you'd be looking at spending for your week in Greece trip. So When it comes to planning out a budget, $82 a month seems like a very manageable amount. I know I spend more on haircuts a month than that, which might say more about me than anything. But I'm just wanted to take a look at this and give you a real-time example.
Thank you so much, Josh. There's so much information packed into this presentation with how you can save on travel. So thank you for sharing that. And Debbie, thank you for sharing your experiences. We're going to move into our question and answer section. So as I said before, thank you so much to those of you that submitted your questions beforehand. We are going to start with some of those pre-submitted questions and pepper in some of your questions that you're submitting live. Again, feel free to put those in the Q&A section in the bottom of your Zoom window, or if you're joining us on Facebook Live, put them in the Facebook chat. Again, we're going to do our best to address as many of your questions as we can. If we don't address your question today, a service team member here at Go Ahead will reach out to you directly following the presentation, or you can feel free to reach out to us and ask us your question directly. So this first question I have is for Debbie. Debbie, you've got so many tours under your belt, so you're obviously a travel expert. So I'd love to hear about what you see as the advantages to traveling in a group versus independently.
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Traveling in a group, and when you do some Go Ahead tours, you might tend to think, oh, well, maybe I can put this together. It's impossible. My husband and I have done several tours, and one time we thought, well, we'll stay behind in Italy for 2 weeks. And it took a year to plan everything out, all the logistics. You tend to forget what all is put into this tour. Go Ahead does everything. If you're doing it for yourself, you have to figure out where you're going to stay. What are you going to do your sightseeing? You have to order your tickets ahead. So when Go Ahead does it, or when you do it in a group, everything's literally done for you so that all you have to do is pack. Traveling in a group also, you meet so many friends. A lot of times it's not just the destination, it's the people you meet along the way. And you meet so many wonderful people along the way. Our group always says the only thing better than travel is travel with friends. And that's absolutely so true. Another thing that you don't tend to think about is the safety of traveling in a group. I was in India in March, and that's when the pandemic started. And so everyone was wondering, are we going to have to cut our tour short? What's going to happen? Go Ahead has offices in almost every country in the world. So we're totally connected with everyone. While we were on tour, they checked everything along the way to make sure we were safe. They checked the hotel before we went to see if there were any cases of COVID. They checked the country count every day to let us know. And we ended up then going to Sri Lanka, but everything was starting to close down. We didn't have to worry about any of it. Go Ahead took care of everything. They got our flights changed for us, and we all made it home easily, which we could not have done if we were trying to do that on our own. So there are so many beauties of traveling with the group. I mean, the best part is Go Ahead does everything. All you have to do is pack. Even the simple little things like, okay, I'm going to do it on my own and I'm going to rent a car. Where are you going to park that car? If you've been to Italy, you see everything is just parked, smashed together and up against the building. So you have to stop and think, oh, if we're going to see the Duomo today, where are we going to park our car? We're going to the hotel tonight. Does the hotel have parking? There are just so many simple little things like that. Tickets. When you travel, time is money. And if you're spending time ordering tickets, standing in line, figuring out what to do next, where to get the hotel reservations, you're losing time, valuable time that you could be using to sightsee. So you have to put all these things together and realize that when you travel with a group, you have all of these beauties wrapped up into one, and it makes it just so much more stress-free.
That's so great to hear, Debbie. the last thing anybody wants when they're planning a trip is more stress. Traveling can be tense, but we want to do our best to make things easy for everybody. So I'm happy to hear that you've had good experiences with Go Ahead helping you out with some of that behind the scenes planning. Along some of those same lines with something you just said about standing in line and finding places to go, I'd love to hear some of your tips and tricks for how people can save money on souvenirs while they're abroad.
Oh, good one. The one thing to do before you travel is to research that area and find out what is that area, what's their specialty, what would be the thing that you would get from there that you wouldn't get as good from any place else. For instance, like Florence, you would want to get leather there, or Australia, you would want to get opals. So do your research beforehand. Always make a list before you go so that you can figure out who, if you're wanting to get souvenirs for a lot of people, figure out your list before you go so that you have a plan before you get there. It makes it easier and you're not spending all of your time buying souvenirs, because naturally when you travel, you want to be able to experience the culture and experiencing where you're going through all your five senses and not being just in souvenir shops all the time. Another thing you might want to do is always plan to not shop for your souvenirs right where the touristy areas are. Try to move out a little bit because things will be less expensive. If you're traveling in a group or with friends and there's a product that's really indicative of one region, maybe several of you want to get that product or get that item. So you can go together and say, okay, if 10 of us buy this, can you give us a better price? So there are a lot of little tricks like that you can do, and most of them involve planning ahead. I also encourage my people not to buy a lot of little souvenirs, or I tell my friends, don't buy a lot of little souvenirs because it takes more room in your luggage. You have to haul them around. But also, if you research ahead of time and find something that's really nice for that area, you can put your money toward that one really nice item. And when you get home, you're going to have an item that for years, you're going to walk by it on the stand and or see it on the wall, and it will evoke all those memories of that tour, and you have a really good souvenir. It's not just a souvenir, it's a memory. You're purchasing a memory.
Yeah, that's such a great way of putting it, Debbie. You're giving us such a wonderful peek behind the curtain. We really love hearing some of your experiences on tour. This next question comes from Nancy in South Carolina, and I'm going to direct this one to both of you, both Debbie and Josh. Josh, if you would start with this question. The question is, if you book 2 tours and take them one right after the other, can you tell us on how we can save on airfare?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Absolutely. And I think this is a question that I saw coming up in the Q&A as well, of the prices that I showed earlier were not including the airfare. And so that is something to keep in mind. And when you are looking at doing 2 tours together, you're really only purchasing the airfare for one. So you're buying a plane ticket to the first destination and from the next destination. So as long as they're near each other, it's really just one round trip airfare that you need to book. So you can save a lot on not having to come back and then book a second full international flight. On top of that, you also, like I said, mentioned earlier, is that welcome home credit. Generally, it is valid for 90 days from when you return home from your tour to place on any future tour ahead of you. But if you book 2 tours back to back and you have multiple tours in the future, the subsequent tours you can still use that credit on. So you don't have to wait until returning home from tour to be able to activate that credit for your benefit. So you'll even save more that way.
Thank you, Josh. Debbie, do you have any insight to add into planning a back-to-back tour?
We've actually done that. And yes, we call them back-to-back tours. We did the grand tour of South America, and we back-to-backed it with the Galapagos Islands. So you're packing one time, getting all your money, everything already for one time. So you're saving time preparing, and then you have this nice lengthy trip that you get to do. Another back-to-back that we did was India and Sri Lanka, and those two melded together really well. So a lot of time, the biggest part of your trip is the flights, and that can be the biggest expense of the trip. So if you do a back-to-back, you're saving a lot of money and you're getting to see more places while you're out there on that tour. We love doing a back-to-back.
Yeah. Wow. 2 tours, 1 airfare package. What a great deal.
And you pack.
And you pack once, not even,
Yes.
you don't even have to unpack and repack, and man, that's easy. This next question is from Linda for Josh. One of the things you brought up in the presentation is our auto pay program. Linda would like to know if you opt for the auto pay program, is there interest on those monthly payments?
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Andy. Actually, no, there's no interest on those payments. So what we'll do is we just take the total price of your tour package, and then it's separated into equal monthly installments from the time that you reserve until the tour leaves. And so it's very easy. You set it, you forget it. It comes directly out of either your debit card or your checking account. So it's a very smooth transition, and you can not worry about the payments and just start dreaming about all the experiences you're going to have.
Excellent. Set it and forget it. Easy. Our next question comes from Terry, and we'll stick with you, Josh, if you don't mind. Question about the welcome home credit. Do you have to book a new tour in 90 days to be able to utilize the welcome home credit? And does it have to be taken that same year?
Great question, Terry. So the welcome home credit, yes. So after you return home from tour, you have 90 days from the date that you get back to book your next tour in order to receive that credit. The next tour that you book could any time in the future. It could be 2 weeks in the future, or it could be 2 years in the future. All that matters is the date of that reservation. And then, like I said before, if you have multiple tours booked ahead, so your next tour is already on the books, if you put an additional tour on the books, you can still take advantage of that without having to wait until you get back. So if you're planning ahead, we love to hear that, and you can still take advantage of that credit.
Excellent. Take advantage of that buzz you've got when you get home from a trip and just keep the buzz going. That's great. We're going to go back to a pre-submitted question here, staying on the topic of money matters. Debbie, with your experience traveling to so many different countries with so many different currencies, I'm wondering what your advice is on how to handle money on a trip. Do you exchange beforehand? Do you just use a credit card? What's your tip?
That's another good question. As with every tour, really plan before you go. And if you look into your account information on your Go Ahead account, there's a lot of information about money matters there that can remind you of things to look at. If you download the Go Ahead app, there's also a section there that tells you about planning ahead with money matters. I always tell my people and my friends and try to remember that one thing you don't want to do is carry cash, American dollars. First off, you don't want to carry a lot of cash anytime because you can always stand the chance of getting pickpocketed, or you could lose your purse. You just don't know. So it's too dangerous to carry a lot of cash at one time. Don't take all American dollars thinking that you can spend American dollars everywhere you go. It's really hard for people to change their mindset on this, but you just stop and think, if you're in the line at Walmart, you don't see somebody trying to pay there with yen or euro, because that just doesn't happen. So it's the same thing when you travel. So take some cash, but what you should always do is take an ATM card. There are ATM machines all over the world in every country, and that's the easiest way to access cash, local cash. Seriously, I've been in the desert in Egypt, and there were ATM machines there. So it's so easy. You take out what you want each day, you get or every other day, every 3 days, you get the local currency, and you always get the very best exchange rate. Some people like to exchange money before they go, but really look into it, because even if your bank tells you they're giving you the local best rate, it's still not, and they'll say there are no added surcharges. you'll still get more money if you use the ATM machine when you land at the local place. And you can use the airport ATM, but that's not always the best. Wait till you get to your hotel. Your guide will tell you where there's a local ATM, or you can even ask at the desk. Make sure you take a ATM card that obviously you know the PIN to, because you'll have to use your PIN. And then also when you're doing your shopping, it's good to use credit cards. I know a lot of people don't like to use credit cards, but if you buy something breakable and you break it, there is a safeguard of insurance through your credit cards. Take more than one. I always tell my friends, diversify your money, diversify it between cash, ATM, and a few credit cards. When you choose a credit card, choose a Visa or a MasterCard. American Express is not accepted very widely, and Discover is not accepted anywhere. So take MasterCard or Visa. Choose a card that doesn't have excessive additional international charges. For instance, Capital One is really great at that. Always remember, it's better to tip your guide in the local currency unless they request otherwise. And so then you can also use the ATM card to get the money out for your tip at the end of the tour. Just do not take money and try to exchange it at an exchange place, because a lot of people want to do this. And in the past, that was an okay thing. But nowadays, you cannot find exchange places, and banks don't want foreign currency because they're really afraid of counterfeit money. So don't take a bunch of cash thinking that you're going to be able to exchange it when you get there. Take an ATM card, several different credit cards, diversify, take some cash, and keep all of those things in different locations. Don't put everything together in one location, like in your wallet or in your purse. Put things different places. So if you would get pickpocketed or you would lose your purse, you have a backup plan.
Great tips. Yeah, get cash when you need it using your ATM card. Get a good credit card that's good internationally. Those are great tips, Debbie. Thank you. Our next question is from Barbara. We're drawing to the end of our Q&A section, but please keep submitting your questions. We'd love to hear from you. Again, the next question comes from Barbara. I'll direct this one to you, Josh. Generally on your trips, for those that like to travel solo, tell us a little bit more about private room fees and how widespread those are.
Yeah, so of course, as you can imagine, when you're having a private room versus a room with a roommate, the cost will be a little bit higher. And so we have multiple options for you to help with that. So the first option is we have a full portfolio of solo tours dedicated to our solo travelers. So there are no solo private room supplements for those tours. And there's plenty of space for individual private rooms on those tours. So I would say first, take a look at that portfolio and talk to your tour consultant about that. It's a great option. Secondly, we have the credits that we offer for experience credits that I mentioned before for Explorer and above that can be used to help offset that cost. We also have a Facebook page dedicated to our solo travelers. We know this community of people is growing, so we have a Facebook page dedicated to solo travelers that are able to then meet other people, talk, maybe even meet up to decide to share a room together, and then that way also you can lower the cost of that room by eliminating the private room supplement.
That's great. I'm so happy that we've added those solo tours to our list. Those of you that do prefer to travel solo or travel with friends but have your own private room, it's so great to have the beginnings of many more tours that we offer with that benefit. Thanks, Josh. This next question is going to be largely directed to you, Josh, again, but Debbie, I'd love to hear some more of your insight as well. Travelers have the option to book their airfare independently of Go Ahead. And Sharon has said that she has done that in the past, and she's had the option to take advantage of the pickup at the airport from Go Ahead. Is this available on all of your tours, regardless of if you book flights through Go Ahead? Josh, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit there, and Debbie, you can interject.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Andy. So for airfare travel, so you are absolutely allowed to book your own airfare. So if you so choose, if you have very specific routings or have specific dates that you want to work with, absolutely, please, you have that option to book your own airfare. With the included airfare with Go Ahead, the transfers are included in that package. And so whenever you're booking flights with Go Ahead, arrival and departure, we already have that information and it's completely in our system. So you'll have someone there waiting for you to pick you up. If you book your own airfare, all you need to do is call into our traveler support team, let them know what dates you are arriving and departing, and if those align with the tour dates, we can take your information, and then there's just a small additional charge for the transfers to and from the airport, depending on what dates or what times you're coming in and everything else. The additional nice benefit of booking your airfare with Go Ahead is if something should happen, like Debbie mentioned in Sri Lanka, where we had to, the pandemic hit and we needed to move people quickly, booking airfare with Go Ahead, we have all that information and we can communicate with the airlines in real time. And so getting those flights rebooked is a super simple process for us, and it makes it easier for the traveler not to have to worry about calling the airline and waiting on hold, because we have specific reps that work with us. So.
Great. Debbie, have you booked your flights independently with Go Ahead in the past? Do you have any experience that you could share with that?
I usually let Go Ahead always do the booking because it's so easy to have everything just done. But when we've done back-to-backs, we have to have transportation in between, and Go Ahead has arranged that, or we've been reimbursed for that. The only thing I would caution on that is when you get your own transportation at the airport, make sure you are using a reputable taxi. Do not let someone come up to you and say, I've been sent here to pick you up, and they can tell that you are looking for transportation. You might get yourself in trouble. So always choose a reputable taxi agency for your transportation. If you're going to use Uber or Lyft, make sure that it's available in that country, and you can find that out before you leave, and make sure that you download the Uber or Lyft app and have that all taken care of before you go. But always be safe first. I also wanted to piggyback onto the question you asked about money matters before. I thought of something when I switched it off to you. The other really important thing you need to go do before you travel is get the currency conversion rate. Print out a currency conversion list, because when you go to the ATM machine and all the foreign exchange numbers are coming up and you see that you have to take out 2 million something, and you think, oh my gosh, I don't want that much money. But when you look at the currency conversion chart, you find out that's like $20. So always print that out beforehand. If you're not a tech person, then you can always keep that in your wallet and take out the currency conversion chart and check it out, or use it before you make purchases as well. Or if you are a person who likes to use apps, there are really great currency conversion apps you can put on your phone and just enter the price and it converts it for you. Actually, the Go Ahead app has a currency conversion section to it. So download that before you go, but always know the currency conversion rates before you travel.
Great tips all around, Debbie. Thank you. For our last question, we'll direct this one to Debbie as well. And I know when I travel, one of the things that I remember the most is the delicious meals that I have on tour, whether that's during free time or included with the group. Debbie, I'd love to hear some of your tips on saving on meals.
With that, it's the same thing as plan ahead. Ask your tour director or ask someone at the hotel if it's a meal that's not included by Go Ahead. Ask what's a nice place, and they can give you like the monetary rate of that restaurant. Another fun thing to do, though, is if you want to do it alone or with a group, go to a grocery store, because there's nothing like seeing a country without seeing the grocery stores. You have to go into the local grocery stores and look at all their groceries and their produce to see the country. So go together and get a loaf of bread, get some olives and cheese, and have like a little picnic outside somewhere. Or a lot of times there are courtyards at the hotels, like have a little downtime picnic. And that's a fun thing to do as well. A lot of people, the breakfasts are huge, huge when you travel. There are tables and tables and tables of food. So a lot of people don't even need to eat lunch, because when they've tasted this, that, this and that at the breakfast, they're not even hungry by the time they get to lunch. So that's another way to save as well. Go down for breakfast. Can you think of anything else, Josh?
The only other thing I would add, because I'm a wine lover, is also when you're doing those picnics, picking up a bottle of wine from a restaurant from a grocery store is much more cost effective than getting at a restaurant. So you can get some really, really delicious wines to have with your cheese and your baguettes or whatnot that you buy at the grocery store. So it's really a great opportunity, and you get to kind of feel like a local as you're having a picnic, sitting under the Eiffel Tower instead of at the restaurant next door paying 10 times as much for your meal.
Pack a corkscrew if you're going to do that. And a lot of my friends and I, we pack a knife, a fork, and a spoon, just cutlery, roll it up in a baggie or something in your suitcase. And then if you can slice the bread and slice the cheese, you already have that. So it makes it fun. A lot of people also like to do kind of like a scavenger lunch, and they'll have each person go and get something to bring for the lunch or the dinner or the picnic. And so it's not just you buying the things, everyone buys something and brings it, and you get to have your own little smorgasbord.
My mouth is watering thinking about these lovely picnics abroad. Oh man, thank you so much for sharing, both of you. And thank you so much for the insider tips, the information on how to save on travel. With our time coming to a close here, I just wanted to put a brief reminder that if we didn't get to your question, whether submitted through the Q&A feature or in the Facebook Live chat, somebody from our service team will reach out to you directly following the session here, and you can always feel free to call us here at Go Ahead Tours. I'm a traveler support specialist here, and I love talking to travelers about this kind of thing. So give us a call if your question didn't get addressed. But I also have just two quick reminders here. We've got it up on the screen there. The first, we've got 2 other webinars coming up here very soon. On December 10th is our next webinar on being a group coordinator. You may remember that Josh talked about that there were 2 ways to travel for free. The first being our referrals program, and the second is right there on the left. It's about being a group coordinator. If you bring 6 or more of your friends or family with you on tour, you can earn free travel as well. So join us on December 10th for information on that program. And the second there on the right, on December 15th, we'll be having our next Travel Tuesday Destination Spotlight on Germany. You can join 3 of our lovely tour directors and learn more about tours that we offer to Germany during some of those festivals and events that are offered throughout the year. So mark your calendars, Thursday, December 10th and Tuesday, December 15th for our webinars. Keep an eye out in your email inbox for a follow-up email from us with some information about these future webinars, how you can get in touch with us here at Go Ahead, and a survey about your experience today. We'd really appreciate your feedback and any additional questions that we didn't happen to get to today. So from everybody here at Go Ahead, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. See you out there on travel or on Facebook.
See you all soon.